they go then. Up towards Magic Corner for the first time. Pretty even Stevens between James Coburn and Charles Neal-Jones. Charles Neal-Jones trying to take a little bit more speed around the outside into Magic Corner. But I think it is the blue car that's just ahead as they come out of Magic and down towards Ford Water, where the camber of the road falls away. And at that point, as we ride on board here, we come down into the site of Hugh Bruce Jones.
Yeah, fantastic shots looking forward from car number 25. That's Stephen Potts. He's in the middle of the pack, the front of the pack. Well, they're so small they can go 3 abreast into St Mary's. They're going to try and make 4 into St Mary's, and Stephen can see that if he looks far enough ahead. But right now he's trying to slot his way through the middle of the field. And it's our pole starter, James Coburn, in the lead position from Charles Neal-Jones in 59. That's according to grid position. Oh, what a fabulous sight as they dip down out of St Mary's, now approach one of the best overtaking possibilities, which is the first part of lap. And has there been a change to the lead? I don't think so. Maybe a change for second place? No, it's still in race order.
And it's Doran in third place. 32 is James Doran up to third place. Then it is the second of the Colburns, Ben Coburn, and the other of Westbourne Motorsport turquoise coloured car. That is in fourth place. But the bonnet's flapping on them, absolutely fantastic. 4 is charging along, that's Neil Brown.
And it's an important car, that came second yesterday, so bear that in mind for later in the race. Only 0.1 of a second down. Again, fabulous shot. Stephen Potts will enjoy this. He's overtaking people left, right and centre, going past number 92, Glenn Mason.
Yeah, he's in the car that David Coulthard drove yesterday, isn't he? And up into the chicane for the first time, it is James Coburn in the pole-sitting car who leads from Charles Neal-Jones. In third place, looks like James Doran. And a slight break then, we've got about 10 cars in the train running behind them. That's absolutely sensational.
And these cars roll more than any other cars we'll see racing here this weekend. Not made for racing, but what great fun. And in Daily Telegraph supporting this event, Andrew English went out and said these are very difficult to drive. And for David Coulthard yesterday, his last ride was in the DTM, and this was his return to racing and driving one of these. He said, I was told they've got 90 horsepower, but I think some of the horses have gone to a different paddock. That's slight paraphrasing, but anyhow, we had the camera on his face today. It's on the side of the car with Stephen Potts. Is there going to be a change for the lead down to St Mary's? Not this time around. 35 attacking 155, but it's still 21 in the lead, eking out a slight advantage. That's James Coburn ahead of Charles Neal-Jones, and then back into second place goes Ben Coburn.
We've got the canny Mike Jordan in 6th place, having a look at 5th as well. Now that engine was running hot yesterday. It's on its 3rd engine of the weekend, so might probably be just keeping an eye on temperature. And he's ahead of Neil Brown, who driving the car that Gordon Shenton finished just behind Andrew Jordan yesterday. So he's going to keep an eye on that. If you can keep the leaders in sight, that'll look pretty good on the aggregate result.
Yeah, well, Jordan's car's on the 3rd engine of the weekend, isn't it? They didn't change it again last night. No. And there's a fair amount of something on the windscreen. I wonder if that's just breather, water breathing heavily already. But it is James Coburn who leads the way.
Well, with that onboard footage from Mike Jordan, if anything does go wrong, we'll be about the first to see it if we're looking forward through his windscreen. But right now, tucked in number 77, just got to eke his way forward. These cars will have to try and slipstream each other. So little power, they've got to find any possible advantage they can. Back of that little pack there, Neil Brown really starting to make up ground. Then again, he's going to have to, because the car he's aiming at is number 77 with Mike Jordan, 3 places further up the line.
Ben Colburn's dropped back into 5th place because number 30, which is Nick Foster, is now up into 4th place. Then it is Ben Coburn, then it is Jordan, then it is Stanley, and behind Stanley is Neil Brown. That is the two guys
coming out of for 5, and he's gone over. And that is Ben
number
Coburn.
5, that's Ben Coburn.
Started from the outside of the front row. I said these cars can roll over quite a lot, and that was a pucker rollover coming out of Madgwick. Just ran that little bit wide, and it snapped around on him. Still leading the race, though, brother James Coburn. That was out of that little battle for 4th and 5th place. Nick Foster just moved up one, so everybody else moves up one position. Great to see that Ben Coburn out of that car. He might be feeling somewhat dizzy after that over and out, but entertainment all round.
Yeah, he's earned a huge reception from the spectator gallery down there at Madgwick. He's absolutely A-OK out of the car. He will, of course, be checked over by the medics because that's what happens by standard convention. And you'll see it here, what's happened. He gets out on the grass, doesn't he? And then a wheel just tucks, and one bites. Already he's en route to a big roll. And I think fair to say that one probably isn't going to go again, that shell.
I don't think he'd better sign an autograph for a while. It'd be up, down, sideways, everywhere. But great to see the car doing its job. And that shot, as Mike Jordan saw exiting to stage right, Mike looked across to see it go. But it's that classic case of just getting one little bit of grip when the rest of the car has no grip whatsoever. And it snaps around the tarmac grippy over onto its roof. It was fortunate it did that slide to start with. And then a clean double barrel roll and a half.
And Mike Jordan actually got 2 wheels on the grass as well. So he did well not to follow him to the scene of the accident there. But Nick Foster's going really well in the number 30 car, and he's right on the back of James Doran. He's sharing the car with Rob Collard, the 2 former WSR teammates in the British Touring Car Championship, and Nick doesn't race as much these days, so that's a good effort from him.
Right, but look for Mike Jordan, number 77. He's the 5th car back in that pack. He's the 5th in line. It's the grey car. He set the fastest lap of the race last time. This is the car on its umpteenth engine so far through this meeting. Mike Jordan biding his time. This was the car that took narrow victory over number 4 yesterday. Andrew Jordan ahead of Gordon Shedden, and 77 ahead of 4 again today. So Neil Brown's going to have to get a move on. He's down in 7th place. Mike up in 5th.
2 places, isn't it? Yes, between them, and not actually an awful lot of ground, about 1.5 seconds between them on track. Here comes Jordan, and he's closing in on Nick Foster. Again, it sounds a bit rough, doesn't it? That car.
It's only got the last 20 minutes, Marcus. 13 minutes remaining until the checker flag will be unfurled. What Mike Jordan can see up through his windscreen, fabulous shots, beautiful blue sky. He can see the 4 cars ahead of him, and it's the James Coburn, Charles Neal Jones, then it's James Doran up from the 2nd row. Of course, we lost Ben Coburn with that roll, then Nick Foster in number 30, and then Mike Jordan.
Well, this is the lead group then coming down into Woodcote Corner by the Super Shell building. Leader is James Coburn. He dabs the brakes, tries to carry as much speed through, just clips the curb on the exit as is the way. Through he goes, threads it through the chicane. Very, very nicely done, sir. And one of the young lads, the Westburn team, well, they bought their cars off eBay, and within 3 hours of buying it, it was back at base, and they were stripping it down and making it into a racer. So that's brilliant news. Neil Jones is the 2nd. Jordan got that fastest lap of the race again, a 1:43.784. And Foster and he both in the 43s that time round. They're the 1st in the 43s in this race. Yesterday's race was interesting because the fastest lap set by Gordon Shedden in the wet was a 1:58.
And he's now 1.1 seconds behind Neil Jones in the 59 car, and Andrew Jordan beat that 59 car by 1.5 seconds yesterday. So that 77 car is in the lead on aggregate by 4/10 at the moment, which is why Mike has to stay really close to this pack.
But the good news is that lead quintet is concertinaing. It's coming in. Mike Jordan, again, the fastest lap of all in 5th place. He's getting closer and closer to Nick Foster. You can see just looking through his windscreen, number 30 in front. But these two are catching the trio in front, and in turn, they're dropping behind them. Jason Stanley and yesterday's 2nd place finishing car, number 4. So Mike Jordan really taking a run. I think he should be able to get a slipstream run, a clean exit. Can he get it through the kink better than Nick Foster ahead of him? Then we could have shenanigans. We don't want shenanigans, but we could be getting them when they get down to Woodcote. But
a change of lead, Bruce, because 59 has come through. That's Charles Neal Jones, comes past James Coburn. Charles, who races Bugattis normally, and Colburn's gone suddenly back, hasn't he? He's back into 4th place. A real change of order.
Never buy a racing car from eBay. There might be some story in there, Marcus, for you.
But the top 5 together, and it's a big change of order. Yes, the Coburn car is now smoking, I see. I wonder whether that's its bearings are on the way out, because they do take a bit of a pounding round some of these very quick corners. But a change. It's Charles Neal Jones who leads the way at the moment. James Doran is 2nd in 32. Then it's Foster, Nick Foster in 30. Coburn is
and it's now
4th.
Doran in the lead. He's just gone past Charles Neal Jones. So the car that Steve Soper drove yesterday into 3rd place, briefly in the lead. But the black Charger, that's James Doran from 4th on the grid, now in front. And I really do feel that Nick, we're going to see Mike Jordan getting closer and closer. He's now gone past into 4th place.
He has indeed. So we've had a big change up the front. All change on lap 6 of this race.
And this is going to help Mike Jordan, because James Doran fighting very, very hard indeed. Very, very smoky car in 5th place. So James Coburn, I think, is about to pull off on the approach St Mary's. Let's hope he hasn't left any oil on the track. He's bouncing over the grass verge, over and out for our pole starter. Unfortunate there, puffing away.
So we're out of Colburn's.
Yeah, not a good day for Westbourne, is it? After a fantastic effort in qualifying. But Doran at the front, Neil Jones second, Foster hanging on in third. Mark Jordan hasn't yet been able to find a way through.
Neil Jones coming back at Doran. He's got a quick car in a straight line, and he's in the slipstream, the first three working together, and there's virtually nothing between these two A35s and an A30. And that's Foster popping out of the slipstream. Can he find a way through the middle? Well, down the inside, it is Doran who leads.
But that little slipstreaming trio, great news for all of them, but well, not the race leader, of course, but for Mike Jordan, not good news. He's dropped off the back of that group. He's now catching it up again as they come into chicane. Lose your toe in these, and you really do have a disadvantage. And certainly Charles Neil Jones went to the ditch on the outside of the chicane on the exits, hasn't been able to put the pad out so well. We're going to have a change of place. Yeah. Foster surely going by.
He turned in too late, lost his momentum and had to fly out over the curb, but it wasn't to be. He's trying to hang on. He's got a quick engine in that car, that's for sure. Foster's on the outside, Jordan on the inside in the JRT 177, the car with the red wheels, and that's very handily placed right now. Neil Brown is what, 2.9 seconds, under 3 seconds off the lead. He's about 2.7 seconds behind Jordan, the guy who's really got to get up.
Well, that was on the start. That was on the start-finish line, and certainly that has come down. You can see Jason Stanley and Neil Brown in now fifth and sixth positions, almost onto the tail of that group, almost onto the tail of Mike Jordan. This one's going to go all the way to the finish. 8 and a bit minutes remaining in this race. Mike Jordan is less than a second clear now from Neil Brown. It's coming, the Neil Brown racer, number 4. Look out for him.
Yes, and all this is allowing Doran to escape in the lead, isn't it? I think he's on the verge of breaking the toe. He's just over a second clear as they went to the start-finish line. So it could be a crucial break for him, at least for this the victory in this part of the race.
Yeah, Doran, the car that Sam Tordoff drove to 8th yesterday, of course, that car finished half a minute adrift of the winner. Again, it sounds like a bag of old nails, doesn't it?
Yes, they have been having a lot of engine problems, but they did decide not to change it overnight this time. They thought perhaps 2 engine changes.
I think they've run out of Morris Marinas to rob the engines from. That's the way they're getting these engines. And the 4th place car is smoking, I notice, and that's the car of Mike Jordan, number 77.
And obviously we've now got Charles Neil Jones back into 2nd place ahead of Nick Foster, so order keeps on changing. But the story of that last lap was that James Doran managed to break the toe just about to that little grouping behind. Last time around they were right on his tail as they came down to Woodcote. Now he's got an enormous lead of, what is it, 0.68 of a second. Nothing in the real world, but plenty down here. Nick Foster having another look up the inside of Charles Neil Jones into Madgwick, but going in fast doesn't always mean the fast exit. Who can get the grip on the exit? In fact, great job there from Foster, managed to keep ahead of Neil Jones, but what's happened right behind is Mike Jordan's got far better exit. He's under there, the tail of the car ahead, and getting its toe all the way down to Ford Water. And these little A35s, you have no need to lift through the corner.
And Neil Brown is trying to take Jason Stanley just behind them, just out of our shot. Here we go, the blue car and the white car. Neil Brown up the inside, he's gained a place. He is now up into 5th place. The engine building guru, Neil Brown.
Well, the little group ahead of him really tripping themselves up. Charles Neil Jones got pushed quite wide on the entrance to St Mary, almost over the white line on the exit of St Mary's, coming into the dip. Now Mike Jordan has gone around the outside, but up the inside into Lavin, that's where you need to be on the first part of this double right-hander. Charles Neil Jones holds on to 3rd place, but what's happening all along behind? Stanley and Brown are getting closer and closer to their tail.
Yes, we've got the top
and Brown has made the move work.
He has, and the top 3 cars from yesterday are now running together. They're not in those top 3 places, but they're 4th, 5th and 6th.
Well, we can do the maths as we go along, but the most important thing right now is that James Doran is escaping in the lead of the race. Can this little group tow itself back onto his tail? But Mike Jordan now has Neil Brown right onto his tail. Don't forget Jordan, 77. His son Andrew won the race by 0.144 of a second from Gordon Shedden, who was driving the car that Neil Brown is driving now. Just look for those 2 numbers, 77 and 4.
This is absolutely classic racing here at Goodwood. We are well round lap 8.
And now we have traffic. Many a race has been sorted by this incredible forward-facing camera looking at Thomas Grindle there. Wheels almost appear to be running backwards as they overtake. No time to stand and admire, sit and admire, do whatever. You've just got to work your way through the back markers.
It's an incredible pack there, isn't it? It's difficult to know where to put your car on the approach to Woodcote. It's like bees buzzing around the circuit. Neil Jones has just done the best first sector of anyone as he tries to respond to Nick Foster, who's in second place at the moment, and they just can't quite get back to Doran, can they? It was 9/10 of a second across the line this time.
Yeah, and we shouldn't leave out mention of that 59. Of course, it was driven by Steve Soper to third place yesterday, just 1.5 seconds down on the 77. So, as Marcus pointed out, 3 in a row, 59, 77 and 4. They're running now in third, fourth and fifth positions. They were the top 3 yesterday. We'll do the maths later on, but what we're having is a fabulous, fabulous race. James Doran is being hauled in now. And Neil Brown pulling out to try and make a move. He's trying to have his line through the kink, coming back towards you at Woodcote.
And he's homing in on his prey, isn't he?
I think the Collard Foster car, Nick Foster driving on, I think he might be in trouble just as Neil Jones has a look at Doran for the lead, but I think we've lost the number 30 car, which will put Jordan and Neil up to third and fourth.
Exactly, and Neil Brown is in close behind Jordan now, exactly where he wants to be, fighting Jordan. Blue flags waving like Billy-O down at the chicane. Superb line through from James Doran, and he completes that next lap.
Well, obviously the blue flag wasn't being waved at them. They're not having people come up to pass them. They're the ones doing the passing. And the best thing right now, as James Doran starts yet another lap, that'll be lap number 10 he's on to. The fact is they're doing overtaking, but there's clear track ahead of them for the next lap or so, one would think. So this is a chance for an absolutely clear fight. And Neil Brown has blotted his copybook. He's run very wide the second part of Madgwick. That's going to cost him his chance of tilting. Unless at number 77, Mike Jordan ahead of him, tried so hard, but just got too close, ran out of road. Still in fourth place.
Yes, that's cost him dear, because he was within 6/10 coming across the line, wasn't he? So 0.628 in actual fact. And there's still more traffic ahead of them, which gives some opportunity. We're down to the last 3.5 minutes or so of this race. Leader Doran catching another of the slower cars there. And it's the 28 machine of Theo Pafitas.
Well, it's great to have the man from the Dragon's Den out here racing. He's seen some absolutely fabulous racing up ahead of him and coming past him. That's the lead battle. Can Neil Jones do anything about James Doran? 32, still ahead of 59. 59 very much in the race. Raced to third place yesterday by Steve Soper. But in fact, now we've had Neil Brown having his moment in number 4. Maybe we should be just looking 59 relative to 77. 59 is ahead by a quarter of a second on the start-finish line. Look through the windscreen of Mike Jordan in 77. You can see it's about the same now. And the first 3 almost side by side as they come down into Woodcote. 2.5 minutes remaining. This is coming to the boil very, very nicely indeed.
Well, Neil Jones had a look on the inside of Doran into the chicane, but unlike some people so far this weekend, he thought better of it and tucked back in behind. But he's actually compromised his exit speed, and now it's Mike Jordan who's turning up behind him. But as you say, Mark, it's quick and straight line, that 59 car, isn't it? He's actually closing back up onto Doran as they come towards Madgwick.
It is, and it pops out of the slipstream. There's the 15 is between them, and that is Asher Smith-Robson. He goes off on the outside. All very busy through there as the lead trio works its way through some back markers.
Well, they've got a nice clear run as they come down to Fordwater, foot flat to the floor, down the slope they come, and it's still James Doran, Charles Neil Jones in second place. Mike Jordan's dropped off their tail a little bit. This could be good news for 59. Absolutely so. Down to St Mary's they come. Nice clear run ahead of them. James Doran tips it one way, tips it the other, still leading and chasing hard. Neil Jones, and just dropping off the tail that little bit, as we mentioned, Mike Jordan, he's got to keep up with 59 or 59 with Charles Neil Jones, will take the overall honours, but Jordan has got to be looking at that thermo, because of course it got very, very hot yesterday, sliding around there in 59 in second place.
Was that smoke off the tyres or the bodywork of Neil Jones? He led the car through St Mary's. That was just brilliant. The gap between the end of the last lap, 0.272 of a second, just over a quarter of a second, and down they come then towards Woodcote for the 11th time. One more lap after this. They're side by side through the kink, and in fact Neil Jones has got a front bumper ahead. Will Doran brake later? He does. Oh, he touches the grass on the inside. They get away with it. They go through. Can Neil Jones dive up the inside towards the chicane? He can't afford to do it and get it wrong, that's for sure. As he comes through the chicane, the first 2 together, and better exit again for 32, which is
very good out of the chicane, isn't he?
He is.
Well, that was teetering on the edge of adhesion. It could have got, that was very much a potential 0 to 0
And the checkered flag's come out early. The checkered flag has come out early, and it's Doran who wins then by 0.407 of a second from Neil Jones. Jordan in third.
Back.
Wow.
How did he miss
the Ferrari?
Missed the Ferrari. That was a heart-in-mouth moment, not just for Richard Miles, but also for Joe Bamford as he saw it getting closer and closer.